Okay, last when the time I joined BTech, the first thing I was asked was whether I knew C. By the time I didn't have any idea about C, but I approached few people who were good at coding, and they said me that anything you would be learning on in computer science programming would basically depend on how well you understand C. That's why I am planning to teach web development and machine learning. C is neither related to web development or machine learning, but the principles which you learn here would be applicable to Python as well as Java. Python is the default language for machine learning, and HTML, CSS, JavaScript will be covered in web development as well with Node.js. Node.js is nothing but Chrome browser wrapped with a layer of C. So by this you would be knowing how important C is. Then C was basically written by Dennis Ritchie for the Unix programming system, as a tool for the Unix programming system. But as time proceeded, most of the Unix and Linux had been written in C. So C is actually a very small language and also very easy to learn. It basically has it basically deals with functions. Basic function which you would have learned in 8th or ninth is something which takes a parameter in and gives an output. So if you see this function f of x is equal to 3 into x plus 5, it takes in a parameter x and returns this value after its computation. If you give 1 as its parameter, it would be returning 8. This is basically the first point you need to know to learn C. You need to install Dev C++ to run any C program or compile any C program on Windows. So in Unix or Linux you will directly getting GCC, but in Windows you won't be having the GCC. So in order to get GCC you need to install some compiler. I'd be using Dev C++ throughout this course. So let's begin. As I earlier said, C completely deals with functions, and C has two files, a .c file and a .h file. .h file is an header file which contains pre-written functions, and .c file can apply those functions by including a library. This might be too high concepts to you. Let's start by writing a C file of our own. So a function returns anything. A function should return something by accepting something, is what we earlier discussed in the mathematical definition of function. In C, we could either give a parameter or not give a parameter, but we should be returning something. The function should return something to us, that is the computer which runs the programs. It can return any three of the following. It can return three types of following. Those are the integers, which are real numbers like 1, 2, 3, -1, 0, and 15, 225, 1383, anything. And it can return some decimal fractions such as 5.333, 2.818, 888.111, and it can also return alphabets. C has only these three types of variables: integers for real numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 5, -10, -11, etc. Floats symbolize the decimal numbers which we earlier discussed, like 8.33, 3.88, etc. And characters are the alphabets A to Z and capital A to capital Z. And there are some special characters also, like underscore, question mark, star, ampersand, etc., which we will be dealing about in further classes. So this int is what this main returns. Return 0. This would not do anything but return 0 to the function when it is called. This is the button to compile and run in Dev C++. When you hit it, it asks for you to save it somewhere. Let's say first and save. Then it compiles. It executes without a problem. So okay, this is what a function looks like. And every .c file, this is the first .cpp file. C can also have other files which have an extension of .h. They are called library files. These library files have pre-written functions which can be used in our .cpp file which we write. So those can be included in C such with a hashtag mark. We write hash include and the library's name. I'd be using, you'll mostly see stdio.h. This library file stdio.h represents standard input output header file. This has two functions, namely printf and scanf. I'll be showing you how to apply these two in your program. A main should have parentheses and curly braces. It should return something. In C, it is mandatory to return any of the three: integer, float, and character types. Integer is abbreviated as int in C, float as float as well, and character as char. See, you can see int, float, and char have been highlighted. That is, these three are keywords in C. So this one returns 0, which is an integer. That is why we need to write int here. This is called return type of the function. So printf is the function which we get in stdio.h. Let's say I love chocolates. And if we run this, it prints out I love chocolates in this file. Something I need to mention here is we write a .c file including some, we have two options to write a C program: a .c file or a .h file. A .c file contains main, this function main, whereas a .h file does not have a function main, but it has many more functions: f1, f2, and f3, so on. So printf is one of such functions in stdio.h. When we click this button, compile and run, what happens actually is the .c file which we have written just now gets converted into a machine readable language. Machine readable language. What do I mean by machine readable language? It is a set of zeros and ones, because the computer learns and understands only zeros and ones. But what we have written is in English. For human readable and understanding, we have chosen a language which is similar to English, and that language is written here. So that gets converted into a machine readable class, and it is given to RAM. The RAM executes it and shows the command prompt which we already have shown. this one, I love chocolates. So you could be asking that I need to write another sentence. Yeah, you could call this same printf function another time and say I am awesome, or you could all or say PK is awesome. And this particular every statement in main should be delimited by a semicolon. Okay, let's see what happens. You guess it. Will I love chocolates and PK is awesome. PK is awesome would be printed in the same line or different lines. I'll give you 2 seconds to guess. 1 and 2. So here it is. Oh, if you would have guessed that it would print in the same line, you are correct, or else you are wrong. So if a printf is called again also, the lines which are given in it gets printed in the same line. How do you get to print in different lines? You would be writing \n. \n is a terminating condition which says the RAM, which says to the RAM that see here is a line and there's another line, and these two are delimited by \n. That means the first line should be printed in one line and the second line should be printed in another line. This time let's see what happens. See, I love chocolates and PK is awesome. They both have got printed in two separate lines. Okay, so we use mainly computers to two different purposes. Mainly to store data, and secondly to compute something which we got from the data. As you can see in the presentation that we store the value of x input and then would return some value after the computation of over the value. And we have already discussed that we can have three variable types: int, float and char. Okay, and these statements should also be delimited by semicolon. So let's say int I, float a, float f and char c. What now happens is int a, float b, char c. What actually now happens is int a is this is the RAM of your computer and it is divided into many blocks. Each block has given a specific address, and this actual a which you have declared in your program points to one particular address or in your RAM, same as this b also points to an address, c also points to another address. If you assign something like a is equal to 5 and b is equal to 5.6 and semicolon, p is equal to c is equal to p. In C, characters are enclosed in single quotes. If you say compile and run, yeah, this compiles and runs. What now happens is to an address which a points 5 is assigned, to an address which b points 5.6 is assigned, and to an address where c points p is assigned. Then you can see at which address 5 is assigned by saying printf %d A. Five is stored in A, and where is it stored can be said by hitting ampersand in front of A. See, 2358852. So the address here is 2358852.